Hello, Gabrielle.
Hello, Manjit. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Sorry, I was in another meeting, so I didn't manage to join earlier, but I just wanted to.
No problem.
check.
I just have a call from Jean-Louis a little bit in late, so maybe I will start and
Okay.
he will join in a few minutes
Okay.
after,
Good
hopefully.
afternoon.
Hello, Sandro.
Ciao, ciao,
Hi,
ciao.
Sandro.
I was just going to check with all our speakers also, just to make sure if you want to try sharing, Gabrielle, to make sure everything works, because
Yeah,
people are always
sure.
concerned.
And check
You know how
that.
that goes.
Often, yes. Ok. Je fais ça. You see my slides?
I see it, but not in full. No, this is now the presentation mode, so you may want to switch your screens around.
Ah, ok, c'est pas bon. Donc,
Yeah.
comment je fais ça? How do I do that?
And somewhere there should be a thing where you can reverse, your computer, I guess, not mine,
Yes.
where you can switch screens.
Share la réunion. It was working just before, so
Not to, this is where we are checking, right?
yes, sure. Alors, j'essaye encore. I have two screens, that's why, maybe.
Ah, that's probably why.
Ok, et donc maintenant, if I share that, ok. And here you see my presentation.
Not sharing at the moment.
Ah, for me, it said that it's moving on my screen and it is said that it is shared. You don't see it?
No, I'm sorry.
Ok. Qu'est-ce que je peux faire? Si je fais ça,
Are you a Mac or a PC?
PC.
Okay. Let's try about to share now. So if you double click, you should. Okay.
Now it's
share,
okay?
but it's still not full screen mode. Oh, perfect. Great.
Okay, so you see the
Excellent.
main page.
I see it
has
now,
present
yes.
the page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect.
Okay,
So
so let's see if Virgil is online as well. Virgil?
I stop sharing. Huh?
Okay, thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Claire.
Andrea, ma perché
Hi, Claire.
Hello. Bonjour à tous.
Bonjour. Ah, Jacques. Long
Ciao,
time
Jacques.
no see.
Exactly.
Hello, Jack.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm just still looking for Virgil. I know that Jean-Louis is going to be a little bit
Late, yes.
What about Virgil? I don't see him either.
He should be here. I talked with him half an hour ago. So
Probably couldn't find the link.
I will text him.
Yes, thank you. So Sandro, will give a couple of minutes and then it will be over to you. Angelica, are you recording? I missed the beginning because I was in another meeting. You're recording, right?
Should be.
Perfect, great.
Someone is recording.
Oh, so it's
Manjit, I
probably
think
better.
you are. Yeah.
Petya. Okay, good.
Manjit, I make a small introduction, then I leave the floor to you, of course,
Thank you.
to present the speakers.
Okay.
You are the boss of the seminars.
Oh, there are no bosses. So do you want, Sandro, that Gabrielle stops sharing? So when you want to introduce the global thing? Yes.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's good if it stays so that we don't have problems.
Maybe you're right.
Is it shared actually?
Yes, it
Or-
is. Yes.
Yes, it's
okay.
shared. I don't know if changes from one slide to the other, but
C'est
this
très
slide
bizarre.
is shared.
Le slide is shared. C'est ça que je partage. Vous êtes en train de partager. And here I can stop. Here it stopped.
Yes.
Okay. So for the moment, I don't share anything. Okay.
Thank you.
I like it. Thanks. News from Virgile.
Nothing yet. I haven't heard anything from Vishil.
I'm here. Just
Okay.
I was muted,
Hello.
sorry.
Do you want to just check that you can share? Everything's fine?
Yes. Let's see. Let's see my screen now.
Perfect.
Yes.
Great.
Yes, working?
Works. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Sandro, I think we could perhaps start.
Yes, thank you, Manjit. Thank you, all the participants to this seminar, and in particular to the speakers that Manjit is going to introduce in a moment. It's a pleasure for me to, let's say, introduce the item because within HITRIplus community, we had last year two new entries that were Normandy Hadrontherapy and also CYCLHAD. This happened for the first institute in March and for CYCLHAD in November. And I think this is very important because one of the main aim of HITRIplus was to collect all the carbon ion facilities around our project. So now that the project in Caen is becoming real, it's becoming actual, it's important that they asked to participate to our community, to our consortium. This is for us a good point, an important issue. And today we are here to hear from them which are the progresses of this project, a project that in France has long roots, I would say, with the Étoile project. And really, I thank them for the time that they are going to give us and the information. And I leave Manjit the floor to introduce the speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandro. And as you just said, we are familiar with this project with a long history. The first time I heard about this, I had a different name, and it was more than 20 years ago at CERN. And, from Asclepius to Arshad, and now we will hear. So I'm really happy that we are going to see the realization and also where we are. And the whole idea of the fact that, Gabriel Gobert is going to talk about the CYCLHAD present and future, because I think it's really, really important to see the challenges and what's needed to get where we are. So can't wait to hear about this. So Gabriel, I don't need to introduce you at all, because I think that the project is well described and well known. So I pass it over to you. So please do tell us about CYCLHAD.
Okay, thank you very much, Manjit. I will start to share. Up. And hopefully Jean-Louis Abran is also arrived, so he will be able to make his own presentation. Just a second. Hop. Okay, so can you see my
Yes, we can.
slide?
Thank you. Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Hop. Hop. Je vais y arriver. So, yes, hi everyone. So my name is Gabriel Gobert, as Manjit said. I'm the CEO at the CYCLHAD Hadrontherapy Center in Caen-Normandy. So first of all, I would like to thank Manjit and the HITRIplus coordinator, also Sandro, to accept us and give us this opportunity to showcase what's going on in Caen. And about proton therapy, that we started with Jean-Louis Abran and all the backless team, Jacques Balosso, which is connected today since 2018. And we will soon have heavy ion radiotherapy at our facility with the new machine coming from NHA that Virgil will be able to give you more details. So we are also proud to be part of HITRIplus since last November, which is very good news. And we will participate as much as possible to all these exchanges between us. So with this presentation, the goal is to explain who we are, what is our history and background, and where we go. Okay, so CYCLHAD is coming from the ARCAD project, which is Advanced Resource Center for Hadrontherapy in Europe. And this project, supported by the Région Normandy from the beginning, is divided in two parts. One is more scientific and the second one is more industrial. So scientific plan is what we are developing at CYCLHAD with two possibilities for sanitarians aspect with treating patients with hadrontherapy. And for that, we started in 2018, IBEA Proteus 1 facility, which is medically operated by the staff of medical staff of Saint-François-Baclès Cancer Care Hospital. And we aim also to conduct research in the field of hadrontherapy with the new machine in a few years, hopefully, which is based on the new C400. It's a multi-particle machine from NHA, and it's right now under installation. To say more about CYCLHAD, we have different shareholders. Historically, with Safin, which is a semi-private company supported by the Région Normandy. IBA, which is ion beam applications that you probably all know in this meeting. Uneo, which is a private insurance company, and some other shareholders, including Centre François Baclès itself. We have Regarding all the technical and maintenance operators, we are working with Sogea, which is a company from the Vinci Group. So they have made all the engineering of the building and construction, and they take care of the easement of all the facility. With IBA, we have a Proteus ONE machine and a contract for service. That means that we have a local team operating the machine every day to be sure and to give a high level of availability of the machine for the clinical treatment. Similarly, we have Normandy Hadrontherapy. We have this contract for the new machine, C400 ion system, and all the service around that. So I mentioned already that the medical operator today and users is Saint-François-Bacchès, plus some other labs that are using some proton beam from this Proteus ONE machine for radiobiology, for example. Where we are. So this is a map coming from the PTCOB website and resource. I'm not sure if it's the last one, but it's close by. So all the red dots are the proton therapy centers in the world, which are more than 120. Something like 20 or 25 are under construction as well. And the blue one are for the carbon therapy centers. So it's about 14 carbon centers in the world, most of them in Asia, as you know, starting in Japan, but also Taiwan, China, and in Europe. All these centers participating to this HITRI collaboration with CNAO, Med-Ostrom, Heidelberg, and Marburg. So soon in France, we aim to have this new facility. So in France, there is today 3 centers for proton therapy, one in Nice, one in Orsay, and one in Caen. And the new one in Caen will be dedicated for heavy ions. At the bottom of this slide, you can see all the partners that have started this project many years ago. It's a 20 years history before having the whole facility. Especially, I can mention the GANIL facility, which is Grand Accélérateur National Lyon-Lourdes, close by our neighbor, very close by us. We are on the same campus. And of course, the hospital, the university, and different labs that make physics and imaging, things like that. Regarding the history schedule, so we started the contract in 2014 for the loans and all the contracts for the building construction, engineering and construction to acquire the Proteus ONE facility. This one has been inaugurated in 2018, and the first patient middle of the summer of this same year. We signed a new contract with Normandy Hadrontherapy in 2019. So during this phase 2, which is its name, NHA was developing and engineering this new machine facility, and installation has started last year, beginning of last year, with the first component you can see in the picture of the new cyclotrons. You will have more details later with Virgil on that machine, of course. And the next steps is to have, in the coming weeks, we will have the introduction of the supraconductive coil of the C400. And then all the cryogenics testing, later magnetic mapping measurements, so still a lot to do. RF cavities and amplifiers, ion sources, all these ancillaries should be next installed for a first accelerated beam in the first part of next year, so 2026. And then we will have all the tuning of the machine up to the end of 2027, beginning of 2028. I'm coming back to the Proteus ONE and clinical operation. So the center opening is 52 weeks per year, every day, Monday to Friday. We have 2 hours of quality controls every day, about 14 hours that are dedicated to the clinical treatment with the room in operation, meaning that from 6 to 10, 6 in the morning, 10 in the evening, we can have this clinical treatment. The rest of the time, evening, nights, and weekends is used by the IBA team to ensure the maintenance of the machine. The project base of the objective was to treat with this machine 345 patients a year in 20 minutes for each fraction, with more than 25% of pediatric patients. Today, or last year, we had 264 patients, a mean time for each fraction of about 25 minutes, and about 8% of children in the number of patients, which is quite good. It's less than what was expected at the very beginning, but we learn and we ameliorate that. The machine uptime is totally under control now, with more than 95% of clinical operation. And that means that, of course, to do that, we have a lot of maintenance in this shadow time by night and weekends. It's about 1,500 hours per year for the maintenance. And most of this maintenance is preventive action. Okay, so on this slide, you see the ramp up that we have in terms of number of patients per year since the beginning. So since half a year for 2018, but last year with this 264 patients. And from the beginning, it's 1,113 patients in total, including 128 children. And currently, we have about 25 patients, between 25 and 30 patients per day, which is also quite good. On this slide, you have a bird view of our wall bunker. In the green part is a place in which is installed the Proteus One machine with the small cyclotrons and the gantry system. It's a rotating gantry with 270 degrees. And in the orange line, within that, it's the different rooms in which Normandy Hadrontherapy is going to install the new machine. So in this part, we have the CE400. Then we have a degrader and an energy selection system, beamline to distribute the beam in 3 different rooms. One fixed beam room for radiobiology research, when we will start, and then a fixed beam room for clinical treatment and research, and a research room, which is a large one, in which we plan to have some physics experiments, but also materials irradiation or industrial irradiation, like microelectronic testings or things like that. We have some demands to do that, and that's it. Let me continue. So another view, 3D view with what is inside. So the C400 cyclotrons is about 7.5 meters in diameter machine. So I will let Virgil tell you more about that, but it's quite compact since it's superconducting one, extracting helium beam and carbon beam at 400 MeV, but also proton beam with the same machine at 260 MeV. And this machine is very compact, so that also the whole building is quite compact if you compare with synchrotron-based machine. The ion sources are upstairs, above the machine, above the ceiling. We have about 3 meters of concrete ceiling above the cyclotrons. And then we have a bench with 3 ion sources. One big EC ion source to produce carbon beam. So we start with carbon 6+ ions, one for the helium beam and one for the proton beam. So these 3 ion sources are switched on all time, and you can choose whatever you want as a beam selected by a magnet, and there is a beam line at low energy, about 30 kV, that brings the beam into the machine. At the exit of the accelerators, then we have a beam degrader to reduce the energy of the beam and to be able to to choose the layer we want to irradiate into the body of the patient. We have the energy selection system. Then we go to the first beam room. I mentioned already the treatment one, and also Virgil will give you more details on what is inside this room. Or we have also these straight lines that go to the physics beam room number 3, in which we can do also this industrial application I mentioned already. So at the end, in this building, we will have this prothese 1, the T400, the 3 irradiation rooms, and in the last one, we have already prepared with EPC Caen vacuum chamber, which is about 6 meters length and 2 meters, more than 2 meters in diameter. So a vacuum chamber in which we can make some experiments and measurements on fragments with time of flights, for example, detections. We have a room which is dedicated to X-rays, in which we plan to have an X-ray irradiator to irradiate, for example, cells or small animals. And so that on the same site, we'll have all the modality for research, like X-rays, photon beam, helium beam, carbon beam. Maybe all the beams, I'll let Virgil mention that, but probably will explain that we can have a research development on all the beams like lithium or oxygen. At the first floor of our facility, apart from the offices and meeting room, we have managed 500 meter squares of pre-equipped laboratories for radiobiology, so for cell culture, for molecular biology, microscopy, also a small animal temporary room, and some rooms dedicated to the physics experimental hall for data acquisition, electronics, and so. So all this has been constructed at the very beginning. All is not occupied today, but is going to be filled in the coming months and years. You can see some pics here of the prepared labs at the first floor. And then here you have a view picture of the lower yoke of the cyclotron, which is already installed. So it's about 300 tons of magnets, half magnets. So soon, in 2 months, we will have in the middle the cryostat coming with the superconducting coil, and then we will finish the rigging of the machine. On the right picture, you can see equipment, quadruple magnets and magnets for the energy selection. So all the magnets have been already installed and are under finalization. So we continue about the status of this installation to install this beamline, the power supplies, all the water cooling stuff. All that is under installation. So we have soon this cryogenic system to test, and then we will follow by the magnetic mapping, which is planned mid 2025 this year, and we wait for this new beam extraction, acceleration and extraction at the end of 2025 or 2026 something. And we plan to have the beam at the ISO center at the end of this year of 2026, and then the reception test, acceptance test on site end of 2027. Okay, so what's next? So you saw some picture for the labs. So we are working today with the Caen University, and we plan to equip the first lab this year or next year with a dedicated team. So this team will be able to make some radiobiology works or here on site, and also to attract other research people, research team to come here. We are working on the development for the industrial application. So from space and electronic industry, we have also some partnership with Ganil on that. Regarding collaboration, so CYCLHAD is now part of HITRIplus networks, as Sandro mentioned. We aim to promote, of course, the Hadrontherapy, but also through an international alliance with multi-ion centers worldwide. We will be glad to set partnership and collaboration in the field of ion beam therapy, radiobiology, and material science. Something important, we are working with Jean-Louis Habran from Saint-François-Baclès and the University of Caen and NHA. We organize a Hadrontherapy for Life Symposium, which is a very important meeting with international experts from these carbon ion facilities all over the world, coming from Japan, China, Italy, Germany, Austria. And the idea is to extract a roadmap for implementing a new heavy ion radiotherapy program, because we start from scratch regarding carbon and heavy ions. So this event will feature evidence-based discussion, case reports, and international expert opinion. Probably we will publish some white papers, and we have the patronage of PTCOG, HITRIplus, and the French Society of Radio-Oncology and Institut National du Cancer. So this is very, very soon. And the next very important meeting is the PTCOG 64 in 2 years from now, in 1 year, sorry, 2026, which is organized by Saint-François-Baclès in Caen-Deauville. So you are welcome to join this event next year, very important event. I guess also Jean-Louis Habran will tell you some more on that. Okay, that's it for me. So many thanks to the medical team at CYCLHAD, Baclès, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Gabriel. We will have the questions all together at the end, if you don't mind. I'm just wondering whether Jean-Louis is on connected?
So, yes, he's just...
Okay.
Just,
I can switch maybe with you.
Oui, mais faut que je t'installe ton truc.
Ouais, ok.
Just a second. Hein?
Yep.
Can you see some?
We see all of your slides together. So if we could just...
Ici. Here is okay?
That's great. Thank you.
So I let the floor to Jean-Louis.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Jean-Louis.
Thank you, Gabriel. Hello, Manjit. Very nice meeting you.
So our next speaker is, of course, Jean-Louis Habran, who doesn't, as I said, he has been in the field for a long, long time. So
Yes, quite a few,
I was going to say, no wonder he's going to talk about 3 decades of charged particle therapy in France. But not only, I mean, you are one of the founding members of PTCOG, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, remind me some old stories, and I'm quite happy to be here today and to talk to you, and probably talk to you in the future. In near future, we have some very interesting meetings to come. And so, this was supposed to be the first talk with some historical considerations. So anyway,
so we'll hear them now. So thanks a lot, Jean-Louis.
Not to be too much boring. I don't pretend to take you back to the biblical flood. Don't worry. So first, I remind you that I'm Jean-Louis Habran. I'm an emeritus professor of radiation oncology at the University of Caen. I was, before retirement, formerly the chairman of the Department of Radiation Oncology. I'm happy to just remind you some historical consideration and how we came to the point today. Probably we need to pay our respect to
Frédéric Joliot-Curie, that you can see here with his wife, Irene Curie, who was the daughter of Marie Curie, because he designed the very first cyclotron in France and produced the first cyclotron shortly before World War II. And actually, this cyclotron was fully operational at the time when the German army was entering in Paris. Fortunately, as far as I know, there was no military application during World War II of this cyclotron, but I've been personally seeing this cyclotron, which became part of the beamline of a further equipment, a much more powerful synchrocyclotron that was implanted at the University of Paris-Orsay, a university that was created, by the way, again by Frédéric Joliot, shortly following World War II, and I'm sure that those who know the University of Paris South, Paris-Orsay, recognize this place, a picture which was taken in the early 60s and which look more or less the same as nowadays, except for the cars, of course, that look really antique mechanics. And in this very place, in this very building that was implanted, again, at the end of life of Frédéric Joliot, the synchrocyclotron, which was initially a 160 MeV synchrocyclotron, that was fully operational until it became obsolete for nuclear research. It was nevertheless upgraded to 201 MeV in 1977 and became the first high-energy proton machine that we've been using at the University of Orsay. And I'm happy to say that I was the first medical director at this institution, with the first patient being treated in September 1991. I was just coming back from a fellowship at Mass General Hospital in Boston, and I pay again my respect to my wonderful mentor, Professor Herman Schutt, and of course of his team, and especially including Michael Goitin. So all these have been really, really very inspiring persons and very inspiring characters. And so I'm also proud to say that at the Proton Therapy Center in Orsay, we have been among the major teams worldwide to take care of children, which was really not a piece of cake. Just look at this picture taken at the time we even didn't get a gantry. And so these children being treated in a seated position under general anesthesia was just a nightmare. But we could do it, and a very nice program was developed at the Orsay synchrocyclotron. And until 2010, when it was replaced with a new piece of equipment, a modern IBA technology. And on this picture, you can see what was the status in France of heavy particle therapy at that time, with two operating centers for proton therapy, one in Paris, the ICPO, run by the Institut Curie in collaboration with the Gustave Roussy Institute in Paris Villejuif, and with the community of the Public Hospital in Paris, and low energy equipment at the Antoine Lacassagne Cancer Center in Nice, which became in the 2017 equipped with a new type of machine, again with the high energy proton machine. And so two running machine for proton therapy. And at that time, there was two projects dealing mainly with heavy ion therapy. In Lyon, the Étoile project, which was led at that time by Jacques Balosso, and you told me that he's with us today. So hello, Jacques, an old pal. And in Caen, there was also another project mainly dealing with research activities called ARCAD, like mentioned by Manji at the beginning. We should say in French ARCHAD. I agree with you, but we have a sort of English pronunciation, ARCAD. Which was purely a research project at the beginning anyway. Nevertheless, when I came the medical director of this new, of the François Baclès Cancer Center in Caen, and responsible for the ARCAD project, I suggested upfront to combine this heavy ion project with a proton therapy program, which could be the first step in this agenda, I consider that this was very useful in terms of getting experience about clinical applications of particles, about connecting our center in a network with referring centers, and also bringing money to this program, which was, of course, quite expensive. And so the situation has been progressively to have 3 proton therapy centers, like mentioned by Gabriel. The Orsay, the oldest one, the Orsay Proton Therapy Center, which has which had an accrual at my last update in 2024 of over 10,000 patients. They are now running about 15,000 patients, both low energy, dealing with ocular tumors, and high energy, as I mentioned to you. A second program open in Nice, and funnily, the center is called IMPT, which is the French acronym for it's not intensity modulated proton therapy, although there is intensity modulated proton therapy in this center, but it's the Institut Méditerranéen de Proton Therapy. They have been treating almost 10,000 patients at the moment. And the last one, the baby center at the moment, is the CYCLHAD program that you have just heard about by Gabriel, with over 1,000 patients being treated at the moment, and including a very nice pediatric program, by the way. So these programs, as I mentioned to you on the French map, in the beginning, combined 2 projects dealing with heavy ion. The first was the Étoile project. I will not talk too much of this. It was a very interesting project anyway, dealt by the University of Lyon and the University of Grenoble at that time. And they made quite a good job. For example, they could assess exactly what was the need for heavy ion and proton therapy in our country. And from this paper, for example, produced by my colleague Marie-Hélène Baron at that time, it was clear, following an investigation in 21 institutions, that if we considered 60 million inhabitants in our country, if we considered 150,000 being treated with radiation therapy, something like 17,000 could be amenable of protons, and 7,000 or so patients being amenable of carbon ions. So interesting findings anyway. And Jacques also provided us with this sort of diagram, sort of decision tree to elect between photons, proton, and carbon ion, which is the best for your patient. The top being green when radiation sensitivity of both tumor and normal tissue is not terribly different, and then not terribly high. You can choose between, of course, photons, the conventional advanced photon equipment, and protons. But for the very radio-resistant process, which is below in pink, depending again of the difference in sensitivity between both, it's definitely a choice between protons and carbon ions. So all this was quite interesting. As far as our own program in Caen, which has been running, by the way, for quite a good time. I was myself involved in 2011, but it ran at least since 2008, and with the former name of Asclepios, by the way. So the ARCAD program, which means Advanced Resource Center for Hadrontherapy in Europe, was a project that aimed to develop hadrontherapy under 4 aspects: physical, biological, clinical, and technical. Clinical being an addition at some point. In the beginning, it was even not considered. And of course, we were supposed to deal with protons, carbon ion, and other light ions. I will not talk too much about the C400, which is at the core of the technical part of this program, and was considered, as soon as the program was open, as a must of our own program. From the clinical standpoint, the main actor in this context has been the François Baclès Cancer Center, the main cancer center in Normandy. Who is François Baclès? Is never been a position in our place. By the way, he has been chairman of radiation oncology at the Curie Institute in Paris. But anyway, we are part of a very big consortium, probably one of the biggest one in the world. We called UniCancer. Formerly, it was called the French Federation of Cancer Centers. Name has changed in, I think, in 2001. And as you can see on this slide, we are treating in this consortium of 20 or so cancer centers, mainly metropolitan. One is overseas as well. We are treating over 500,000 of patients per year. We are approaching 25,000 physicians, physicists, scientists, and employees in this big consortium. Almost 200 patients being inpatients, the other one being outpatients, of course. More than 1 million clinics per year, so something very, very respectable, I would say. And so in this context, when I arrived, I had to cope almost immediately with a site visit from an international commission that asked us, what is your perspective for this new machine that you are considering building in Caen? So I had some 10 commandments that I presented at that time, which was that our equipment should be a multiple ion machine, be able to treat superficial and deep-seated lesions, have conventional dose rate and high dose rate, and we know now how important it is to be able to produce high dose rate and in terms of clinical research, being reliable in terms of dose and range, of course, producing beams with comfortable size, I mean 25 cm or so, to treat most patients, have a simple design, and so no much need for big team of operators or a big maintenance. Have an active scanning technology. At that time, we considered that scanning was the best. An easy beam connection with couch imaging, reduced cost, and last but not least, being commercially attractive and compact, so we could implant this type of equipment in a hospital. Briefly, the ARCAD project has been developed at the time without the C400, but with the collaboration of the GANIL, the National Grand Accelerator, which is next door from our building, producing some interesting experiments, both in terms of nuclear models of nuclear instrumentation, including the LPC lab, which did an outstanding job. So all this was produced by the teams involved and working closely with GANIL. Radiobiology projects also were quite informative for us. We had two main domains of interest, which are the brain, and so in terms of tumor, mainly glioblastomas, which of course are highly suitable for high LET particles. And so interesting data have been produced by the group dealing with brain tumors in collaboration with the University Hospital of Caen. And another interesting topic was a study of chondrocyte and morbid conditions associated with chondrocyte. This is actually an old love story between Normandy and horse riding races, in which the study of chondrocyte and diseases in horses dealing with chondrocyte are very important. And so naturally, we have translated this veterinarian experience to medical applications. And so we have been interested with chondrocyte. And of course, chondrosarcomas, for example, have been a model for us during many years. As far as the clinical program, Gabriel mentioned to you what has been done, say that we considered that we should combine this proton project initially with later on a heavy ion program, and with a ramp up both for protons and heavy ions over 7 years. And here I'm showing you what was considered initially 7 years. By the way, we are at 7 years following the initiation of the Proton program in 2018. And we are not at the point we are supposed to be nowadays. Since at 7 years, we are supposed to treat with the C400 equipment. There have been delay undoubtedly in the production of this sophisticated machine, and so it's a bit different from what we were expecting. Anyway, we, as mentioned to you, we have combined in terms of finances what was provided with the Proton program, and try to have a budget balance which was not too bad, both for the initial Proton program and then for the heavy ion program. Things have not been so easy. I probably don't have enough time to present you why we had actually some deficits in terms of budget balance. And so now we are becoming more and more strict in terms of recruitment of the patient for the Proton program, because it brings fuel to the rest of the entire program. And so we designed, along with Jacques Balosso, these A, B, and C priorities in terms of financing. The A being the high priorities with well-accepted indications for protons, B being those with potential for escalated dose and critical organ sparing at this time. So quite a large number of indications, including ray radiations, for example, and C being only some superiority on those intercomparison studies and patients with gene susceptibility. That is a subset of patients that can request, of course, basically proton therapy. I would like to mention briefly to end up that we have also had nice national cooperation, and Jacques and I have been quite involved in the years 2010s onwards with the National France Hadron program, in which a number of centers have been involved, the Étoile in Lyon, the Arcade Center in Caen, the Center of Nice and La Cassagne, the Curie Institute, of course, and another center with major interest in particle therapy, the Cancer Center of Toulouse. So this, along with scientists from different institutions in France, that were developed in several sites that are showed here, and with, again, purpose of having clinical applications, computer and simulation applications, radiation biology, of course, and instrumentation. This program was started in 2010. It was supposed to last for 10 years, actually 5 years being reconducted. It was not reconducted, possibly considered as too expensive by the Ministry of Research, although we had initially a funding of 15 million euros, so it's not a piece of cake. I have to say that multiple experiments have been conducted dealing with this amount of money, especially experiment at the Ganil, for example. You know, the beam time is quite expensive. Also, a research line developed at the Nice Cancer Center. This program is nowadays closed, and to thank again my colleagues in terms of collaboration, I would also mention the collaboration with the French Society of Therapeutic Radiology, the SFRO, which now has a website on which you can dialogue and propose some patients for proton therapy. These patients are studied by the 3 centers, and we have a sort of collaboration in terms of managing the line, the waiting list for the patients. So the quickest, the better, of course, especially if it's child. So it's something very, very convenient for us to take care of proton patients, possibly extended to the carbon later on when it's become available. And I will end up this short talk by reminding you that we have still a closed meeting coming soon, but a very open meeting coming later on in Caen and in Deauville, nearby a very attractive seashore resort. Here are some of the actors that are presented here, and could possibly recognize Professor Juliette Taria, who took my position when I got retired from the university in Caen. Professor Siama Kashduk, which is a coordinator of radiobiology. We have multiple labs now in Caen, and he has quite a lot of job coordinating all these actions. Claire, Karine Laurent, radiation biologist in my own place at the François Baclès Cancer Center, doing an excellent job as well. And as far as the Normandy Hadrontherapy, here, Christophe Le Foll, very, very nice person. And of course, you recognize Virgile, who is the next speaker, and we will talk of instrumentation, by the way. So thank you very much. So I'm waiting for question. Of course, feel free to ask question if you want. And I will pass the baton to Virgile.
So thank you, Jean-Louis.
So thank you.
Really for this really rich and personal attachment to all that's happened. And you talked about lots of firsts in France. And of course, Virgile is now going to talk about the next first, which is, the C400 cyclotron-based facility. So that's also very much a first. And Virgile Letellier is the head of medical physics in Normandy Hadrontherapy, and he's going to tell us about project installation status and the challenges that you have to get to where you are. So Virgile, please. You are muted.
Am I still muted?
Yeah,
Okay.
now you're fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So, like I said, it's always a great pleasure to discuss to HITRI. Okay, it's working. So, in this presentation, I will try to focus much more on what is NHA, what is happening in Caen, and the technical aspect, because Gabriel already presented quite a lot. So, first, I wanted to enlighten. So, this project of the C400 machine is a great collaboration between IBA and NHA. So, you have to know that most of the accelerator technology is coming from IBA and is supporting a lot in the development of this machine. And IBA is a French company which is taking care of the design and installation and to market also the machine for next customer. And of course, CYCLHAD was already presented by Gabriel. Maybe a quick reminder for people in this meeting which are not aware of carbon ion. I think you have a lot of very good presentation already on the HITRI videos, but I just wanted to make a quick reminder. So heavy ion, of course, it's quite interesting for the good penumbras, especially in depths, and also the nice break peak and which are the physics advantage, but also there's also a lot of very interesting biologic advantage, which are the ILT and IRBE, and which is quite interesting, especially on the hypoxic and radioresistant tumor. But also more and more now we are discussing and we are seeing a nice presentation and papers about combining carbon ions and heavy ions with immunotherapy. So I think it's also one of the great advantage of this modality of treatment. So now back to the C400. So you have to know that every carbon or heavy ions particle therapy system currently in the world are using synchrotron. So it was also the DNA of this project was to find a new solution to particle therapy. And that's why we decided to go NHA and IBA to the cyclotron system. So cyclotron means it's much more compact, but also it means we will have very high beam current and which could be interesting for hypofractionation and flash, for example, in the future. But also it's very easy to maintain this system. And this is also what is great about this machine. So just to show you a bit in terms of size, so we did a comparison between a synchrotron base like Medostron, and so which is about 25 meter diameter. Our machine will be about 7 meter. So it's factor 3, factor 4, let's say. So when we overlap the two systems, you understand the big interest of compactness of this machine in terms of building of cost building also, and size of the system. So this is a system which is currently under installation in Caen. Just to show you, so we have the cyclotron on the left, source on the top, and beam lines which are going to 2 rooms. And there's also even a third room, which is on the straight line, and we can see here on this picture. So it's really 2 beam rooms and a research room on the straight line next to the Proteus one, which is already treating, as Gabriel said before. So if we want to go a bit more in detail of this machine, if you're interested, so it's like I said, it's a 7 meter cyclotron. It's a supraconductive cyclotron, which is able to accelerate particles which have a charge to mass ratio about half. So it's a cryogenic coil, which is 4.5 Tesla with helium bath. So you have 2 coils in helium bath. And we have a 3-source injection system, which is currently in Caen, proton, helium, and carbon ions. Meanings, because of protons, we have 2 extractions lines, one only for protons and the other one for 400 MeV per nucleons, which is for ions. For the moment, for the first center, which is Caen, we decided to go to fixed beam line. So all the treatment rooms in Caen are fixed beam, which have a robot system and a couch, also possibility to put a chair. I will show you a bit after. And of course, X-ray imaging, lasers, and systems to adapt the beam for range shifting and ripple filter also. And we also try to do quick shifting, quick switching, between particles for heavy ions in the machine, in the treatment rooms at the end. So just to give you a bit an overview of beam quality, so basically we'll have a 20-20 field beam carbon and 30-30 proton. And the spot size in carbon will be about 3 to 4 millimeter 1 sigma. And of course, the range will be about 27 centimeter carbon and 32 for proton and helium. Just to give a big overview about the beam. And like I said before, so we'll have 2 ways of treating patients in the room in the fixed beam line. So either couch or either chair. So we have a collaboration on a chair with the Bisling company, which for the purpose of NHA and CYCLHAD will be only a head and neck treatment chair, and which is under development. I just wanted to show you some image of this collaboration. Just to give you also a bit of overview, so it was already showed by Gabriel, so we expect to have beam extraction in 2026, about the time of the PTCOG and IPAC, which will be also in Normandy at the same time. So all what I showed before was quite theoretical. This is real life now. I wanted to show you pictures of what is happening now in Caen and during the installation. So this was the first phase where we did the manufacturing of the lower core and the cyclotron, basically. And this is some picture also to show you the status about the supraconductive coil, which was here on this image in construction and under testing. So like Gabriel said, so the coil now will be received in a few weeks in the cyclotron. So this was pictured during the testing. And of course, not of course, sorry, but we also installed in the building helium tank and helium management system in the building. This was already installed, which is below the cyclotron in our system. This were to show you some image when we did the rigging about the lower core last year. So we did the installation about all the bottom part of the cyclotron. And also beamline. So we did the installation of the beamline during this phase of rigging. So these were picture of the installation. Also, what I wanted to enlighten in the next few slides is we did also some nice developments and discussion with IBA dosimetry also to work on equipment that will be able to work, of course, for QA, for carbon ions, but also for commissioning and be able to make the system working with our machine. So there's also nice collaboration on this part. And also we, for Caen, we are already making the system compatible for CYCLHAD and for research station. But we're already looking at compatibility for Varionaria, Raycare, and for OIS. And also for TPS, we have some discussion with Monaco, Electa. So what are the challenges now of this machine? So Caen is the first machine, and we're already looking ahead for the next one. Of course, what is already compatible for this machine is helium ion. We know also it's already compatible with CBCT and SGPT. We will be also compatible flash for research. We did already some calculation. We know for small volume of 2 by 2 by 2 will be compatible for conformal flash research, not clinical research. And next development where we will look for partnership probably also, it's to work on conformal flash therapy, helium imaging, ARC or gantry systems, and also new ions like oxygen. Like we know oxygen could work with this machine. So as a conclusion, so what I wanted to say is the C400 machine, which is installed in Caen, it's quite unique system. It's a first of its kind. For the moment, it's first cyclotron heavy ion multi-ion machine. So it's a great system for clinics, and also we hope it will be also a great system for research and physics research. And like I said, we will have the first beam into 26, and we hope to see you all doing PTCOG the same year. We will do a visit of this center. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Before we take the questions, we will do our Zoom photo. If you could just turn your cameras on, please. Angelica, you will let me know when you're done.
Yep. Just show your best smile, and I'm taking. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, Angelica, but thank you for 3 wonderful talks. Sorry that I rushed a bit because I want the possibility of our participants being able to ask questions. So please either put your question in chat or raise your hand. Either way will work very effectively. So over to all of you if you have any questions. No? So I have a question, Jean-Louis, for all 3 of you actually, because as we said, it's taken a long time from the first time we heard about the cyclotron-based carbon therapy. So what was the biggest challenge from your perspective? Sorry to be asking a difficult question, but it was, curious.
This is, of course, a technological challenge. So I pass the message to my colleagues. But it's true that you're right. It's an awfully long history. For the others one here, you probably remember the ULIMA project,
Yes.
which was something looking like the current project. We're dealing with the cyclotron. It was a European project at the time involving, as far as I remember, France, Germany, and Italy, which was able to produce a cyclotron for heavy ion. And at that time, it was in the 70s and 80s. Nobody knew exactly where the machine would be implanted. For example, the Nice center was oversized, a big building, because they were supposed to host the equipment. But all this was just a dream. I think it was premature at the time to consider this sort of equipment due to some problem linked with the cryogenicity and things like, which were definitely not really enough advanced at that time. So it's unfortunate, but of course, this paved the avenue for big synchrotrons, but the big synchrotrons are terribly expensive. This is the main problem. And I'm sure that Jacques Ballousseau could comment on this, because the Étoile project actually at some point considered purchasing a big synchrotron, but it was terribly expensive. So this project was failed at the end. So hopefully our own equipment will be much cheaper, much more compact. So it's probably a new avenue for heavy ion therapy if this cyclotron provides the expected particle at the expected dose and dose range. Virgile told me that actually he's quite confident that the particle which we produce will fit all the medical requests, all medical requirements. We will know a bit more next year, but undoubtedly this is really something that we are expecting for a long time. As far as the clinical indication, also now we have more experience from the literature, from colleagues worldwide, about what could be the future for these particles. And I've been particularly impressed myself with the achievements of our Japanese colleagues as far as the pancreatic cancer. This is becoming really a massive problem in oncology in terms of number of patients, in terms of poor outcome. And for many years, I've been quite impressed with the achievements of Japanese colleagues. And so my suggestion would be that a center like our own in Caen become a national reference for pancreatic cancer in the future. Okay. And could justify by itself, the entire program. We will hear more by experts in pancreatic cancer. I'm not an expert in this field, but we will hear more about experts coming from both from France and from abroad as far as heavy particles on the future on this. I personally have been particularly implicated in pediatric programs. Again, there is much to know about the implication of heavy particles in the field of pediatric tumors. Well, actually, carbon ions and high LET particles in general have not a good reputation as far as the treatment of children, because of some considerations in terms of carcinogenicity following treatment, etc. I think we need to explore these avenues. Absolutely. I'm not sure at all that this particle is so detrimental. So again, I will be happy to hear about our colleagues during the symposium. Right. But definitely, there is a new way to go dealing with children. They also can be affected with terrible conditions and highly radio-resistant processes, just like adults.
Thank you, Jean-Louis. So Mike Malagowski has his raised hand. Mike, if you unmute yourself and you can ask your question, please.
Thank you very much, Manjita, and thanks for arranging this fantastic meeting. Could you please comment on the advantages of helium as heavier than protons and lighter than carbon in terms of the likely clinical effects? Because it seems to me that this could be a very good compromise in some cases. Thank you.
So
that's a question to the.
I think the question should be addressed to our German colleagues who are extensively exploring helium ions at the moment. What I can tell you is a long time ago, when I was still a fellow at Mass General in Boston, it was in the mid-80s. Michael Goitin taught me that helium ion is the best because penumbra is the shortest, and RB is not terribly different from that of proton, so it's not too difficult to manage, say. And so the idea came that possibly at some point the helium ions could replace protons in terms of ballistical selectivity. But I'm really looking forward to hear my German colleagues at the symposium we're talking about. I was, 2 weeks ago, attending at my previous position at the Gustave Roussy Institute in Paris. We had a guest from Heidelberg, an expert in radiobiology of helium ions, and he produced a number of research projects and data that were absolutely incredible, dealing with helium ions combined with a variety of novel agents, immunotherapy, etc. So it's really a particle which is becoming very, very popular. Some people are just are telling, why not a machine entirely devoted to helium ions? So the future will tell us whether protons will be replaced with helium ions.
So thank you, Jean-Louis. I absolutely agree, because our German colleagues are treating with helium. We'll get some more data. And I also I'm fully aware of the dedicated helium machines. But just from a clinical perspective, you know how long it took us to get proton therapy, and some centers in carbon. And you as a clinician, you know that it's going to be quite challenging for the 100-odd machines to start thinking about helium, but let's see what the future brings. In the meantime, I see that Ricardo Rodolfi has his hand up. So please, Ricardo.
Yes, thanks. A very quick question for Virgile. Thanks for the nice presentation. Using a cyclotron, you have a fixed output energy. Maybe I missed the point. How then you need a degrader for carbon ions or not? Thank you very much.
Yes, so for ions, so for the moment, helium and carbon. So it's a fixed energy of 400 MeV per nucleons. And then there's a degradation, yes, to reach every energies between, for helium, 32 to 4 centimeter range in water, and 27 to 4 centimeter range for carbon. But helium, it's a good question for helium, because helium range at 400 MeV per nucleon is very long. It's not 32, so there will be a much bigger degradation for helium, for the clinical rooms, I mean. For the research room, which is in a straight line in this example, they will be able to use this 400 MeV per nucleon. So there's a lot of topics of research, like helium imaging, for example, because this beam will really go through a lot of water. Right?
Thank you. So I see that Gert has his hand up. So Gert, please.
Hello, thanks also again for these excellent contributions from the three speakers. I think I have a question to Virgile as well. So it seems to be a very multi-model facility that can be of really much interest in research, but also, of course, in clinical treatment then. So, and you mentioned already that maybe there is a second one, but what's the plan? So it's of course building that up and seeing how it works, but would this be a product in the near future maybe? And what are the ideas there, how to do it?
So Caen is the first machine. It's not a prototype because it's already a lot of investment in this machine. So it's really the version 1. And there is a product, yes, it's officially an NHA product, which is available. So, And if you want to buy a C400 machine, we can install it. Yeah. So yes, it's officially a product. Yes. And of course, we hope to sell several machines.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Which will not be always exactly the one of Caen. Caen was the first machine, like for example, we talked about fixed beamline, for example. Maybe the next one will not be fixed beamline. It's still under discussion with prospects. But yes, it's a product, yes.
Thank you. So, Virgile, I have two questions, unless somebody else has their hand up. I'll take the prerogative of chairing this. So one is, we know one of the advantages is cheap, smaller and more compact. Okay, we've heard that. And the second part of my question is, do you think a cyclotron-based facility like yours, it will be easier to do flash, since it's a very hot topic at the moment, both from proton perspective, but also from carbon perspective?
Yes, because it's a cyclotron and we have plenty of particles, so we have a lot of frequency and no pulse beam, so it's continuous beam. Yes, we expect to have a lot of dose rate, and we know already from first calculation we have done, we are able to do conformal flash for research. So conformal, it's really with a bragg peak on small volume, which are about 2 by 2 by 2 centimeters with carbon. So I think it could be the first flash machine for carbon ions. With synchrotron, you can do flash if you try to condense some pulse in a very short time. Here we will have more like continuous flash beam. Yeah.
So curious about this. Sorry, I'm just making sure nobody else is trying to. For the flash, when you said the size, are you talking about sort of scanning, or you're going to talk about something like scattering and beam in order to be able to cover the area for the tumor conformality?
So it will be with at the end of the beamline to use some modulation and collimation on the last meter, like last centimeter, just before the patient. Of course, it will not be an energy selection with a degradation close to cyclotron, because it will take too much time. So it will be an energy selection and degradation just before the patient. Yeah.
Okay.
Using some accessories on the nozzle.
Yes, I was wondering about this, because this is a big challenge, as you know, trying to do flash, of course. Anybody else who has some questions, please? If not, I think actually I don't want to monopolize all the questions. So I want to thank all of our three wonderful speakers. And we should have given you 2 hours, or we should have had 2 separate seminars, because there's so much interesting stuff going on. And I think people would have really liked to hear more. And, you know, it's such a rich history, but it's such a big future to go as well. And as I said, you know, we've been dreaming about this first cyclotron-based carbon facility. So congratulations. Looking forward to the data and results, and see you in Caen. So thank you all again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Majid. Thank you all.
See you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hi, Manjit.
Hello, I saw your message, so nice to see you online. Some interesting future direction, huh?
Of course.
Long way for us to go in your country, but we'll get there eventually.
Okay, done.
Anyway, nice to see you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I'm going to sign off now, so bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.